Welcome to Meal Planning for Beginners. My name is Anna Kovinska, and I am a public services librarian with Plano Public Library, and I will be presenting today's program. I am assisted by Kathy, who is going to be monitoring the chat for any questions. Before we begin, I need to let you know about some ground rules that we've set up for today's program. You will be muted during this class, and we have your video blocked. You will only be seeing my screen. At the top of your screen, you can find an exit full screen option if you need to get to other things on your computer. You are welcome to ask questions or request that I repeat information at any time during today's program. You should see an icon at the bottom of your screen that says chat. And if you click on that chat, you can open the window. Chat is set to be seen by library staff only. If you prefer, you can also use the Q&A feature located at the bottom of your screen to ask questions. Please note that any inappropriate questions or comments will cause your immediate removal from today's class. For all questions, we may answer you directly in the chat or Q&A box, hold the question until a break, or just ask the question at the time. I've told Kathy I like being interrupted, so your questions will be answered as soon as possible. Lastly, a recording of today's program will be available in a few days, so if you would like to watch today's program and then view the recording later, that is an option. With the ground rules out of the way, we are about to get started. I should note that I am not a vegetarian and I only have a few dietary restrictions. So meal planning for beginners is largely set up to be based on the standard American diet, but it is just one person cooking for themselves for our sample meal plans. That said, I hope that the information that you find here today will help you extrapolate and meal plan for your family and your needs. Okay, so today we are going to go over what is meal planning. We're going to talk about some of the benefits and why you might want to engage in meal planning. We are going to go over all of the steps, some tips and tricks, as well as some resources at the end to help make sure that all of your food is safe and healthy. Meal planning describes the ways in which people can make their culinary lives easier by planning ahead. It organizes your eating patterns and allows you to anticipate the time and monetary commitment of your food needs. Meal planning also develops awareness of your food habits, needs, and consumption. You might occasionally hear the phrase meal prepping, and meal prepping is just one aspect or step of meal planning. Sometimes you might see the two terms used interchangeably, but they are in fact different. Um, Meal prepping prepares the food or prepares the food to be cooked, such as cutting vegetables, whereas meal planning is really from ideation of the meal. So maybe I want chicken with broccoli tonight. I would have that recipe in mind. I would shop for that recipe and then make sure that I cook it properly. So that's meal planning. Okay. Why meal plan? Um, Chances are you are attending this program because you have one or more of the following benefits in mind already, but there could be other reasons that you might not even be aware of. Meal planning saves time. Um, Planning and prepping upfront can help save a lot of time in the long run, and it helps you utilize leftovers more effectively to fill in gaps in your plan. You can also save money. Avoid excess spending on takeout by more intentionally scheduling your food consumption. You can buy in bulk for cheaper prices, then freeze extra food or even prep it all at once. Uh, you might also be meal planning to eat healthier. Knowing exactly what is going into your food can help you meet dietary goals and adjust your meal plan accordingly. Or you might want to eat deliciously. Um, I love this one. You want to cook things that you enjoy eating and meet your ideal flavor profile. You might want to reduce waste and buy only what you need to fulfill your plan and have a plan for everything that you buy. or reduce stress, eliminate uncertainty about what you'll be eating. Bear in mind that some benefits are trade-offs. For instance, if you value eating delicious gourmet meals, it might be more challenging to accomplish goals like save time or money, or eat more healthily for that matter. The choice itself is a benefit, though. So, whatever your choice, I hope that we help you accomplish that goal. Okay, steps of meal planning. There are three basic ones. We've got recipe selection, which allows you to choose recipes for your planning block. Um, Usually, our block is a week. Um, and for that entire week, you will know what you'll be cooking for every meal. There's also ingredient acquisition, which means purchasing the ingredients you'll need to make the recipes that you chose. You can make sure to check your pantry for ingredients that you already have to avoid buying duplicates. And you can also actually look at ingredient acquisition first to see what sales are available at your grocery stores before choosing your recipes. Finally, there is meal prepping. So you can divide out all the ingredients into their respective meals. If there is some prep work you can complete at the beginning of the week to speed up your cooking process later, such as chopping vegetables or marinating meat, you can consider doing that. Okay, selecting our recipes. Um, you start by choosing the meals you're going to cook and eat throughout the week. Be specific and indicate which days you will cook, as well as what you will cook, and which other meals you'll eat when. So look at your weekly schedule and determine what are good nights for cooking based off of that. Um, if you know you'll be exhausted after working a long shift or running errands, that might be a good night for leftovers. If possible, look at your schedule during the day as well to determine your preferred option for lunch. Also, don't forget to factor in when you'll obtain your groceries when considering availability. Check your preferred grocery store for weekly sales and coupons. I know that a lot of grocery stores around here tend to put out their sales on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So try to check the websites then for your sales. You can pick recipes for the week that use an on sale food. Some produce may be more readily available, cheaper and fresher depending on the season. You can pick recipes that use seasonally appropriate foods. Think about how long your ingredients will last before expiring. Meats, breads, and fresh produce will all expire pretty quickly after purchase. If you only intend to go to the grocery store once during your weekly plan, make sure that your perishables will last long enough to make it to their intended meal. When deciding what to cook, think about how you'll handle any leftovers. How easy is it to reheat the dish? Does it keep well when refrigerated or frozen? And how long does it last in those conditions? Some foods need to be eaten the same day as they were cooked to taste good, while others can last for months in the freezer. So prepare enough of your recipes for your preferred use. You'll develop a rotation of core recipes, dishes that you frequently make and like to eat. Knowing that you are likely to eat these recipes often means you can buy larger quantities of their non-perishable ingredients and meal prep key parts of the recipe to freeze. Once you have your list of recipes for the week, you make a grocery list. Be sure to take note of quantities and sizes of different foods because you don't want to end up with half of an important ingredient. Also, this is the point at which you'll want to ensure that you're not buying duplicates of ingredients you already have. So check your pantry to make sure. It can also be helpful when you're making your grocery list to group items by where you'll find them. So all of the meats are in one section. All of the kind of pantry staples are going to be in another section. And that helps you not have to make lots of trips around the store. Okay. So We're going to very briefly examine the layout of recipes to get a better idea of how to read them. First, we have the recipe name, and this gives you an idea of what to expect from the dish. Um, so this is sweet and sour chicken, so we know that the flavor profile and the protein that is included. Um, Time. You can see there's usually prep time, cook time, and total time. So you can expect to spend that much time preparing the dish. And cook time is how long the dish is to be cooked. Um, that said, some recipes fudge these numbers a little bit. I know that whenever I'm prepping a recipe, it almost always takes me double the prep time. Maybe I'm just slow at chopping. I don't really know. Servings. How many portions can be expected from this dish? If there are nutritional facts that are included, that is applicable to a single serving typically. Of course, there's the ingredients. So just because there's a long list of ingredients, don't let that intimidate you. Many of the ingredients in most recipes are pantry staples and items that a well-stocked kitchen is likely to have. If you're starting from an empty kitchen, you might have to obtain everything on the list, but once you have them, you'll have them for future use too. So in this case, I consider eggs, salt, cornstarch, vinegar, ketchup, brown sugar, cooking oil, and ginger to be uh, ingredients of a pantry, essentially, the pantry staples. Um, you will want to look for hidden instructions, such as this egg white means separating the white from the yolk. Or this chicken thigh cut into 1 inch chunks. So those are things that they expect you to already do before you follow the recipe. Mm, you can also look for substitutions sometimes. So, for example, 1 teaspoon grated fresh ginger. Sometimes you can use stuff from a spice jar. Or if you see maybe bell peppers and you don't like those, you can examine what your options are. So, are they vital to making the recipe what it is? Or can you change out maybe the bell pepper to something else? Finally, there's the directions and method to making the recipe. So, look for preppable instructions. See if there's anything that you can do ahead of time. In this recipe, step one essentially wants you to bread the chicken with cornstarch and let it sit overnight. So, you could also prepare the sauce and chop the pineapple and peppers as well. Look for the kinds and numbers of pans, bowls, and utensils necessary, and look for any terms that you don't know. There's a show that I enjoy watching that at one point was talking about folding the cheese and what that means exactly. What does it mean to fold in cheese? So if you have any terms like that that you don't know, you can always look them up online to make sure that you understand how to cook the recipe. So, tips for reading recipes, make sure that you read the whole thing before planning it for the first time. You'll need to know if there are any unusual ingredients or ingredients that require extra processing before using. You may also find instructions or terminology that you'll need to look up. Changing recipes is a skill that comes with experience, so you'll learn over time which ingredients are vital to make the recipe work and which can be reduced or removed based on your personal preference. Okay, we are going to look at some actual meal plans now, two that have been pulled from the internet and one pulled from personal experience. So the first meal plan we have here is a generic one. It offers some variety throughout the week and doesn't require extensive food storage. Only one meal is in the fridge as leftovers at a time. This means that it could be good for a family with children, Meal plans for families are tricky as they require a much larger share of food than one or two adults. Saturday and Sunday are left blank as well, and the intent is that those weekend days are a lot more flexible so that you can do what you want at the last minute. One thing to note, you can read it, but easy, when it's talking about easy on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, these are simple grab and go meals that require no prep, such as fruit, cereal, oatmeal, toaster pastries. Quick, some easy dinner meals that take 30 minutes or less, or maybe from the grocery store's prepared meals section. And then lunchbox takeout should be pretty self-explanatory. Okay. Oh. This meal plan was marketed online as a health diet, which offered high protein and a limited number of calories per day. So we have cut off the specific nutritional information from the plan, and what we discovered is that most of these recipes are actually very similar. Pretty much every day's lunch is a salad and ground beef every night with a different variety of vegetables. This might work if your priority is overall healthy eating. However, many people would get bored with the same food every day very quickly. Online meal plans often focus on health and nutrition and are quick to pack every day. Uh, with 3 meals, sometimes each requiring you to prepare and cook it. So these meal plans also often seem to exist in a vacuum. They don't really take into account previous meals and leftovers. Also, meal plans like this can look pretty overwhelming. Even though there's very little cooking involved, the sheer amount of information in each box of this plan makes it seem increasingly difficult. Okay. Ah, no, not yet. Okay. Finally, we're going to look at a meal plan from my coworker uh, who created this. This is a real meal plan that they ended up using recently. And it looks much closer to the first meal plan than the second one because they based their food goals on saving money and eating fresh food as opposed to reheating food. They froze a lot of their protein raw after marinating or breading it, uh, then took it out to cook from frozen. Blanching vegetables also helps, though blanched and frozen vegetables don't taste as fresh as fresh. So the way that this meal plan works is that they always have a variety of meals frozen and ready to cook or reheat, and they replenish those meals with new ones at the same rate that they eat them. So during the sample meal plan, they used 4 of their frozen meals. But they also made spaghetti and pineapple chicken, which, if desired, can create 5 to 6 frozen meals. They only cooked for one person, and they don't often make one-off recipes. So the panini sandwich was a bit of an exception. But the point of sharing this meal plan is to demonstrate how you can take nuggets of information from other meal plans and then make them your own. In addition to your goals, you should observe that meal plans don't account necessarily for the weekly flow of things. Meal plans tend to start on a Monday and end on a Sunday, regardless of when you actually plan or go shopping. So you can change that depending on your grocery store again. Look at Tuesday or Wednesday plans. Or go grocery shopping Wednesday, start on Thursday. Uh, and this will allow you to kind of modulate to what you need from your experience. But hopefully, these 3 meal plans gave you some ideas for your own plans. Okay, so it's time to obtain the ingredients that you need. Chances are that this will involve a trip to a grocery store. The main thing to consider when it comes to ingredients is that you'll be balancing time, money, and quality of ingredients. So, some examples, Um, you may increase ingredient quality, but that's more expensive and may take more time to track down. You can save a lot of time by having groceries delivered, but that is also more expensive and means you may not get the chance to pick your ingredients to be as fresh as you would like them. Finding lower prices means that you'll need to either sacrifice quality, shop around for the best deals, or make more from scratch. So decide how much you value each of these considerations, and that might vary weekly depending on your schedule. Maybe sometimes you really can't afford the time to go to the grocery store and you'll get it delivered instead, and that's fine. But depending on your needs, some of the following money saving strategies may work better for you. Or alternatively, you might find them useless. So take your situation into consideration. You can make things from scratch. Uh, Pound for pound, making anything from scratch is generally less expensive than buying it pre-prepared. Um, Sauces, pre-chopped breaded meats, frozen vegetables are great options to explore making yourself, especially if they use common ingredients with your other recipes. You can also explore membership grocery stores. If you buy a lot of food, it may be worth paying for entry into a membership grocery store, such as Sam's or Costco. Consider how much money you'd save by going and compare with the annual fee. You can look for local options like farmers markets. Farmers markets tend to have locally grown produce and may be less expensive than produce imported or shipped by grocery stores. Finally, another money saving strategy is to grow at home. Herbs in particular are a great option to grow at home, even if you don't have much space. You can trim the plants to add fresh herbs to your recipes rather than paying the premium prices. Meal prepping is the act of preparing a meal or recipe, then portioning it out to create grab and go meals for later. In its standard form, this means preparing a set of 4 to 6 identical meals for one or more meals each day. Standard meal prep works better for those who meet certain criteria. Um, those who value convenience, efficiency, or time money savings over variety. Those who don't mind eating the same meal multiple times or multiple days in a row. Those with dietary restrictions that mesh well with preppable foods. And either single individuals or pairs, couples. Um, some kinds of food keep better than others, particularly when following a standard meal prep plan. So, cooked grains, pasta, beans, meat, you can cook those once and keep them for 3 to 4 days in the refrigerator. There's roasted vegetables and hearty fresh vegetables that maintain their structure and texture for longer. Whole fruit tend not to expire as quickly. Nuts, seeds, and cheese keep well for multiple days and fill important nutritional needs. And lastly, sauces and dips. However, there are some foods that don't meal prep well either. Softer fruits and vegetables tend to expire quickly, and then crunchy items like fried food, crackers, or chips, depending on how they are stored, but they will not retain their crunch in a refrigerator. So don't be afraid to take the concept of meal planning and make it work for you. You can consider the following. Do some partial meal prep. Maybe prepare and portion out some components of your meal in ready-to-grab containers, such as 5 servings of rice and beans, 5 apples, 5 portions of nuts and cheese. But then prepare the rest of your meal fresh each day, such as a freshly made sandwich for lunch or a fresh cooked protein for dinner. You can store foods that don't keep well with your cold ingredients in a separate pantry spot, such as pita chips, uh, stored in the pantry and hummus stored in the fridge. If you're using this strategy for lunches, you can consider a divided lunchbox. You can try frozen meal prep by incorporating frozen leftovers into the plan. Finally, you can ingredient prep. Leverage a weekend night to marinate meats, cut vegetables, mix sauces in preparation for your recipes that you intend to cook for the week. This will speed up the cooking process on weeknights. The hardest part of meal planning, unfortunately, is maintaining the habit, especially if it's not something that you're used to. So start small, don't jump into the deep end. Start by cooking 1 or 2 meals per week using easy recipes or recipes you're familiar with. Be patient. If things don't work out at first, that's okay. You can try again or take a different approach. Find a system. Sometimes that system is putting a whiteboard calendar on the wall, or downloading a meal planning app, or finding a task tracker. Pick something that works with your lifestyle. Enlist family support. Uh, if you're with another person or people, make it a whole family affair. Involve family members in meal selection, shopping, and cooking duties. Many hands make it light work. Lastly, build community. Find others in your area to meal plan alongside. Uh, this might help you keep it up, similar to accountability partners. Plus, this opens up options like potlucks, frozen meal swaps, and ingredient sharing. Okay, so what if we have dietary restrictions? Um, they can make meal planning difficult. They can make eating in general difficult. However, this dietary restrictions can include medical restrictions such as celiac disease or lactose intolerance, religious restrictions, or lifestyle choices such as vegetarians, vegans, or any other diets. By excluding certain foods from your diet, you'll need to find alternatives to fill those nutritional needs. You can understand your dietary restriction at what exactly it entails. So if the restriction is medical, talk to your doctor and find out what foods are and aren't included. Um, Use all the resources available to you to find meal options that fit your diet. There are now many, many websites, apps, and books with resources that you can use. And you can check out cookbooks from the library to make sure that they fit your diet and all the ingredients are appropriate to you. It may be prudent to avoid eating at restaurants if you have a dietary restriction. While restaurateurs are more aware than ever about food restrictions, the risk of cross-contamination or negligence is always there, unfortunately. Picky eating is a topic that could call for a much broader conversation about psychology. Suffice to say, though, meal planning for family members who have a limited selection of meals that they will enjoy is challenging. Um, you can introduce new foods with intention. This is a quote from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Research says it takes 8 to 15 times to introduce a new food before your child will accept it. Yet parents typically offer a food 3 to 5 times before deciding their child is never going to like it. So just keep that in mind. We're definitely not trying to force foods on the picky eaters, but 8 to 15 times to introduce a new food before your child will accept it. That's pretty substantial. As a personal anecdote, I remember hating onions when I was a child until I was probably about 8 years old, at which point suddenly my taste buds developed and I started loving onions. So it might be an age thing that they need to grow into taste bud wise, or it might just be that they need more exposure to the food. Um, that said, space out meals so that everybody comes to the table hungry. You can establish mealtime routines such as time, rules, and vibes, so that children will associate positive feelings with mealtime. And you can also choose meals that everybody loves, or at least everyone will eat some of. You can try options like a buffet, such as a nacho bar, a salad bar, something like that. On the other hand, if you are the picky eater, then you're in luck. Uh, you have the power to either make meals that fulfill your taste or introduce new ingredients and flavors over time. Try recipes that are almost entirely favored foods except for 1 to 3 ingredients. And that slow introduction will hopefully increase the chance of you liking an ingredient over time. So, what if I have a large family, though? Cooking for large groups daily or multiple times per week is a unique challenge on its own. Some of the techniques we've talked about, such as meal prepping to freeze raw, simply don't work unless you have an unusual amount of storage space. Likely, your family will be cooking nearly every night. So you can select large yield recipes that can be scaled up without too much fuss. Make 2 casseroles instead of one. Supplement main dishes with easy to prepare sides such as rice or beans. While you can't exactly have a bunch of these lined up in the freezer, having 1 or 2 casseroles or frozen pizzas available to heat up helps in a pinch. One size fits all. Uh, Generally, don't make separate meals for individual family members. If they want something different, put them in charge of obtaining that, even if it's just a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or an equivalent of that. Enlist family members in helping cook or even taking responsibility for several nights of the week. Cooking is a valuable skill for teens and children to learn. Um, and supervising or advising means that you can sit back and start to remove the training wheels as they get more confident. Lastly, for large families, really consider obtaining a membership to a store like Costco or Sam's Club. The savings when feeding a large crowd will make the membership fee worth it. Okay. Our last what if. What if I'm so busy that I'm barely home? Um, Busy can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. It may mean that you do not want to sacrifice valuable free time, or you truly may not have any time at all to meal plan and cook. You'll ultimately need to decide what works for you and what you can sacrifice, but you may find that meal planning and prepping take up less time than you expect. By choosing recipes that require zero cooking and still provide you with nutrition and variety. There's sandwiches, overnight oats or oatmeal, parfaits. These are all great ways to grab a quick bite without sacrificing flavor. You can also explore options for quick meals that can be prepared en masse and then frozen, such as burritos, mini pizzas, and these heat up very quickly. You can also embrace oven-ready grocery store meals. Um, these are not as inexpensive as making something from scratch, but they are still typically cheaper than going out to eat. And you can still get a good meal that requires almost no prep work or time on your end. And if you are meal planning with this kind of schedule, you'll need to truly contour your plan to the days and times you are most available. Even if this is just a couple of hours, 1 day of the week, maximize that time to do as much as possible to set yourself up for success. Okay. Additional resources. I did want to talk about foodsafety.gov very quickly. Um, So foodsafety.gov allows us to look at food safety charts. It's an official website of the United States government and has various wonderful information on it. But the thing that I want to point out is the food safety charts. So particularly the cold food storage. You can follow the guidelines below for storing food in the refrigerator and freezer, and it goes over lots of items such as salad, hot dogs, lunch meat, uh, lots of meat, eggs, soups and stews, leftovers, and it tells you how good they are in the refrigerator and how good they are in the freezer as well. And you can download the cold food storage chart as a PDF and then print it as well. There are other food safety charts as well, food safety during power outage, meat and poultry, and safe minimum internal temperatures. So very important to keep in mind while we are cooking. Okay. With that, we have come to an end to tonight's presentation. Are there any questions?
No questions at this time.
Okay. Um, well, if you think of questions later, you can write down my email address. That's annak@plano.gov. I'm happy to answer those questions at any time. Okay. Um, thank you all so much for coming to tonight's presentation. We hope that you have learned something and are able to take something away and implement it into your life. Again, start small. There's nothing wrong with meal planning for one day each week and then building out from there. Um, and sometimes meal planning does include planning when you'll eat out, so that can count as well. We hope to see you at future programs, and until then, we'll see you next time.